Hey, what's up, guys? How are y'all? Welcome back to the OS Rick Project, episode 67. Guys, how are y'all? Welcome back. What you been up to? What have you been watching? What have you been playing? We had Gamescom happen last week. So Gamescom happened, but I'm gonna be 100% with you guys. I really didn't pay too much attention to what happened. I know, oh boy, Jeff Keighley got rushed on stage again, which, it's kind of funny. It's funny, right, when you first see it, like, oh, okay, someone rushed the stage. Bill Clinton wants to play Grand Theft Auto 6. Oh, cool. And then you start thinking, they don't have security at these events. Anybody could just go up there and just rush it down and get on stage and stuff like that. It's like, maybe you need security. Maybe you should hire that instead of, having celebrities. Well, it had Al Pacino on there. God, why'd they have Al Pacino there, dude? They should have just, poor guy, leave him alone. He's hanging out with his grandkids or his kids. But yeah, it's like, instead of having that, how about just get security? That way you don't have little weirdos show up there and these other dudes just jumping on stage whenever they feel like, right? Anyways, as for me, I've been playing a lot of Armored Core 6, guys. A lot of it. Let me bring it up real quick. How many hours do I have already in this thing? I already have 25 hours. 25 hours, and I'm working my way through chapter 3. There's 5 chapters. They each have a different number of missions. The first one had a good chunk, several. Second chapter, very short, and then I'm in chapter 3. So, when I first, I want to talk a little bit about Armored Core first before I go on, and then we'll probably end the conversation when I go more in depth into the game and why I feel like you guys should be playing it if you guys are like on the fence about it. But so right in the first mission, the helicopter boss, I was like, okay, this is what I'm getting myself into. You guys remember playing Dark Souls 3 for the first time? And Dark Souls 3 was my first Fromsoft game, okay? So you remember playing Dark Souls 3 and you kill a bunch of undead, you get to the tutorial area, you kill some undead, whatever, and then you get to Lundix Gundyr and the game beats you up. I remember playing that game, I was thinking, okay, this is what the game's gonna be about. It's gonna be a challenge. Eventually I got Lundix Gundyr down. He killed me a couple times, but I finally got him down. And I don't want to hear that person like, oh, Lundix Gundyr is so easy, first shot. Shut up. No, you didn't. Shut up. Excuse me. I just had dinner, guys. Big old steak. The first boss in Armored Core 6 was like that. He will beat the crap out of you. You have to use every skill you learned in that little tutorial so you could become familiar with it, and then you could beat him. Of course, going back to him, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I know how to handle it. But that first time, that's what it reminded me of, fighting Lundix Gundyr. And man, what a game, dude! I'm having a good time with it, customizing everything, different parts, different abilities, different stats, doing PvE. I played a little bit of PvP today. It was just a really fun game. It's a really fun game, guys, and I'll talk about it more while we wrap up the podcast. What was we talking about? Oh yeah, something I wanted to talk about last week, guys. Something I want to talk about last week. I didn't get a chance because I was running out of time already. But last week, before I left off, I wanted to talk about Microsoft having this on their for Xbox, having this new 8 strike system. So apparently, The Verge had a interview with the Xbox Player Services corporate vice president, Dave McCarthy, and they talked about some things about how it says about like only 1% of the Xbox users ever get need any kind of enforcement, and they have, and I looked it up, right, like how many folks do they have on there? I think I saw on there, and this is just me just Google searching, right? I think they had around 1%. Oh my god, where's the numbers at? I wrote it down. Maybe I didn't write it down. I think they had like 100. I don't know, man. Anyways, That doesn't matter. We're focusing on the wrong details, guys. But anyways, they got the new strike system. It was in the millions. It was a million something. It was a million something because even then, it was 1% of that is 100,000, 100,000. Okay, so the way I see it is, how do you enforce that? How do you enforce 1,000? Like, okay, this is 1% that's getting it. How do you enforce 1,000? Much less 120 million. Like, that's a lot of people at all times. At that point, you're probably like sourcing it out to like what, to bots, algorithms, other people to turn you in and like rat you out. Look, and I'm not saying that, talking shit online is okay. It's not, but it happens a lot. And not only does that happen though, not only does it talk a lot, but how many times have you seen someone have a freaking screen name that's like, whoa, buddy, you can't be walking around with that kind of tag, that kind of handle, dude. I mean, we see it all the time, right? And different companies are always talking about, oh, we're going to make sure our players are well behaved. We'll have a strike system. But then again, they're getting away with names like, it's exactly what I'm talking about, right? But anyway, guys, they said they're going to have like this 8 strike system. Like profanity will be 1 strike, cheating will be another strike, sexually inappropriate comments will be 2 strikes, harassment and bullying should be 2 strikes. It's going to be 2 strikes, and hate speech is going to be 3 strikes. It's like, how do you start judging all that? Who's in charge of all that? Who deems it? And look, I'm not saying it doesn't need it. Yeah, we should have some sort of enforcement system where people who are constantly just harassing other people needs to be checked. But at a certain point, like 8 strikes, just make it 2 strikes, straight up, dude. Just make it 2 strikes. 1, okay, maybe you got heated, you said something stupid. Maybe someone, and I see that a lot of times, right, where someone will message somebody after losing a match or something, and then somebody responds thinking they're going to get the one up, and then they end up just getting themselves banned. You think of something clever, but it gets misinterpreted, and then bam, there goes a strike. Look, I get it. You people screw up sometimes, whatever. Not me. I don't engage in that. I don't engage in that BS, but it happens, right? If it happens once, okay. It happens again, well then get rid of them. Done. You'll never have to worry about it. Can you imagine, dude? If you 8 strikes, what are we doing here? Like a slap on the wrist? You suspend them for a day? Yeah, I think like after like after like 8 strikes, you can appeal it to, or some weird reason. But after like, oh yeah, it's like 1 day, 3 days, 7 days, 14 days, 21 days, 60 days, and then once you get 8, it's 365 days. It's like, you know what? If you really enforce it, and like really enforce it, right? You get actual people, like you see it black and white, not something because somebody say screw you, and you be like, ah, yeah, whatever, dude, screw you, even worse or whatever. I mean, whatever. That's tame, right? That's nothing, But of course, if a bot gets it, maybe they'll take it a different way. But you get people actually like enforcing this stuff the right way, like people, not bots. I swear, dude. Once they start getting, they after a strike and you ban them for a week. Just one. You ban them for a week, dude. Jesus Christ. But they're not going to do that though, right? They know that they know they can't do that, because if that does happen, now they're no longer in the Xbox ecosystem. Now they're not paying for the Game Pass. Now they're not paying for the Xbox Gold. Now they're not paying for all this other stuff, right? So they got to make that money. So I see this stuff and I'm just like, okay, cool. It's in all honesty, I believe it's one of those things where they're just doing something and putting it on paper and be like, yeah, we have a strike system. If they get out of hand, we'll do something about it. Okay, sure. Oh yeah, yes, it is. I wrote down here in the bottom. Xbox surpasses 120 million monthly active users. So yeah, that's a lot of people. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up with you guys. I don't know if Sony has anything like that, or Nintendo with their online services. I'm sure they do, because I've seen some people post online about how getting, they say something where it doesn't sound awful, but it gets misconstrued, and then they get banned or something. So yeah, we'll talk about October later. Armored Core 6. We'll talk more about Armored Core later in the end of the podcast. Oh, so the PlayStation 5 Portal is coming out, or is out. I'm not sure. I think it's coming out or is out. It's coming out pretty soon. Have you guys looked at this? Is anybody interested in the whole like playing? So you get to play your PlayStation 5 titles in a what looks like a DualSense 5 controller, but in the middle is like a what 8-inch screen, 7-inch screen, 7-inch, 8-inch screen, and it looks cool. You know, it looks pretty cool. But the thing is, it only works if you have your Xbox on and you're connected over the Wi-Fi and you can play remotely. Now, I did believe I saw someone saying even if you are connected and you're not in the same Wi-Fi, but as long as I mean you're not in the same network, but you're still on a network, you'll connect through remote play and you can play that way. I'm not too sure if that works or not. I gotta see. I gotta look for myself. But it's priced at $199. It'll have a if you want to play with headphone jacks, it'll have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, so you could put in whatever. When it comes to Bluetooth, though, it doesn't have really Bluetooth. I don't think it don't have a Bluetooth, but it does connect through like Sony's own proprietary earbuds, which also costs $199. So at that point, you're like, well, if I want to play with that, I'm already going to be shelling out $400. I don't know who this is for. If you're gonna shell out $400 to play handheld because someone wants to use it, someone wants to watch the TV, and you have to play like at that point maybe just buy another monitor or something and then hook it up over there. I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, someone's gonna spend their money on this, but honestly, just thinking about it, it's like, nah, I'm good. I'll be fine. Didn't Sony have something like this also? Like isn't it called like the Sony Backbone, where you could play using remote play using your cell phone or something? I gotta look that up. I gotta look that up. I gotta look that up. But yeah, it just um I just I don't understand these peripherals when it comes. Like I have a PlayStation 5. It's fine. It's awesome. It's cool. Oh, I did finish. I forgot to tell you guys. I've been playing Armored Core 6. But before that, I did finish Final Fantasy 16. Yeah, 16. I finished it. I finished it, guys. Overall, I would say if you are a fan of the Final Fantasy series, I would say thumbs up. You should play it. It is a fun game. I had a blast. If you asked me what the story was about, I really couldn't tell you. I think it was about freeing slaves and overthrowing an evil king. And along the way, you find out that this evil king is being manipulated by a higher evil, by a greater evil that wants to destroy the world. You know, your classic Final Fantasy, you know, story. You know, you find out you're going to fight something, and then you realize, oh, actually something's here to destroy the world, and you and your friends have to come together and destroy it. But Final Fantasy 16, guys, I would recommend it if you do like, if you're a Final Fantasy fan, I would recommend it. If you like the combat from like Devil May Cry, I say play it. That was honestly to me the best part. I enjoyed having these different icons with different abilities, trying different things. Once you get new abilities and trying to like put enough skill points in them so you could like not only upgrade, but once you master them, you can move them out of their certain slots to put them into different, because you'll have different icons, and different icons you could transfer moves over from one to another if you want, but once you put enough skill points into it. And a lot of points were really fun, really cool. I did a lot of stuff where, you know, I'd have like high stagger damage because that's what the game really wants you to do once you start getting into the higher bosses, where once you stagger them, that's when you get all your big damage in. One of the best fights in that game was going against Titan. That was super fun. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of the cinematics. It was, and it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was the hardest game I ever played. It's not, but it did have its challenges. I did die a couple of times when doing the monster board hunts. You know, getting the optional bosses, you know, scattered across the world. That was fun. I did die to a couple of those. You know, the S rank ones, and one of the main story boss, Barnabas, he was a challenge. I think I died once, and then I came back, had to learn his moves, and you know, and the abilities you learn along the way also have plenty of utility to help you either teleport out of moves, or parry or using your limit break and stuff like that. So it was a fun game. I enjoyed it very much, and I'll admit, guys, I was super skeptical about it when I first skeptical when I first got into the game, when I first heard about it, actually, because I was like, man, this isn't Final Fantasy. This isn't a turn-based game. That's not Final Fantasy. That's just, generic action fantasy game. And it's true. It's not turn-based at all. I mean, you're playing as a main character, Clive, which I do like Clive's character. He was pretty cool. I don't know if I'm gonna remember him, a couple of years down the road. Like, if you ask me about Noctis, I'd be like, oh yeah, Noctis. He was him and the homies were pretty cool, but I can't really remember like what they were about. I'm probably gonna feel the same with Clive. Clive was cool, and of course, you the only party member you get to play with, will have control of, is Torgo, but he just has very basic attacks. A basic attack, or basic commands, I should say. A basic attack, a hot heal over time, and a launcher. For the smaller enemies. But other than that, though, I mean, I really wouldn't use them unless I knew to mash, up on the D-pad so I can make him do his base attacks while I'm doing, like, during my limit break sequence. But you'll pick up some people along the way. They'll assist you. The voice acting was good. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Sid was a cool character. Just Gav and Mid and Jill and all of them. I enjoyed them. It was fun. You got to know these characters. And again, I'm not saying they're the greatest ever. And they're not gonna carry the same impact like Final Fantasy VII does. But it was fun. I did enjoy it. It was cool. I think I ended up like being like 60 hours with that game, and I did do all of the side quests along the way. And I don't want to say, guys, the side quests in that game, they weren't where they were a chore and you didn't want to do it. I actually did enjoy doing it. It was fun. And they weren't difficult, because they would pretty much say, hey, okay, they put an icon or indicator, be like, okay, the quest you're gonna go is gonna be somewhere over here. Just go fight it, go pick this up, go destroy this, defeat that, and return back to that. And you know what? It's fine. I'm okay with, I know I talk about sometimes where I hate when games, like, I won't say this game was holding your hand, but just kind of like spells out everything for you and you just got to go do it. And I don't mind when a game does that for a little bit, because, sometimes, especially coming off of like Elden Ring, where the game's like, all right, here you go. It doesn't tell you where to go. It just kind of gives you like these little sights of grace, kind of like just points you in a certain direction, but you have to like get the finer details on your own. Yeah, this, Final Fantasy 16, yeah, it kind of told you like, all right, just go here, exactly right here. And you know what? I don't mind it. For the overall package of that game, it really did come back. It did really come together well. It really worked. I liked it. It was fun. It was good. I would suggest it. Doing the side quest again, it was enjoyable, and they were worth the upgrades. It was fun getting upgrades, but they weren't. It never the you never really had armor sets. It was either you'd get a weapon, a belt, and a bracer. I mean, there's only three that you can like. You actually see the difference in the sword because like it'll have a different graphic. But the bracer and the belt, it was Clive always had the same armor set, so you just get different stats on that. You have three different accessories. The three different accessories, those were fun because they always had something unique where you're like, man, I kind of want to try this. But after a point, when you get the yellow ones, I'm guessing the legendary ones, legendary rarity level, you're kind of like, yeah, I'm just gonna rock this. It was like the Genji gloves, adamantite, adamantite gloves, or adamantite bracers, and something else. I don't know, but the accessories were pretty easy. The fun part was having to pick what skills you wanted to carry over and use. I did stick with the Phoenix and Garuda for the most part. Those two were my staple. And in third, once I unlocked Titan, I liked having the Titan block. I love that ability so much. It was so cool. I mean, you get that perfect block in the right time. It freezes everything. You get three attacks in, and it really helps build up some stagger and some damage. The cinematics were fun. They really were. Like during combat, when you get a parry and everything freezes and you hear the sound effects, or when you activate your limit break, or when you do the ultimate with Phoenix or with Shiva, having those spells go off and seeing your enemies HP melt, that was really fun. I enjoyed that immensely. Now, the parts I didn't like was every single quest. And I mean every single quest, guys, whether it was a mainline quest, a side quest, a fetch quest, whatever it was they had to like have a cinematic for every single one of them. Like I get it for the main ones. Yeah, you kind of want that because you know they want you kind of like progressing the main story. But all of them had to like talk. And a lot of times when I was streaming, guys, like I would just be chit-chatting. I'd be talking to chat, or I get up to go get a drink of water, or you know, sometimes I start screen dipping just because I'm just letting it play. And I let it play just because I wanted to see like how much like of how often they were, and they were pretty frequent. I think that would be my only. Oh, and it was from Yoshi P and his team. Yoshi P, the guy who does, he director, creator. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I know he works on Final Fantasy 14, the MMO. So it was him and his crew were doing Final Fantasy 16, and like I said, it was a fun game. I don't think turn based is dead, and I think Square Enix, and that's what I'm curious about, right? I'm curious about the sales for this game. How did it do in Square Enix's eyes? Did it sell as much as they wanted to? And mind you, this is just on a PlayStation 5 exclusive. I don't know if it's going to come out. I think they said it might come out on the PC somewhere down the line, but that's not 100% true. I mean, it's not 100% fact yet. So I'm curious in what the direction they're going to go with the Final Fantasy series. Me personally, I would like for Final Fantasy to stay turn-based. I think that's what it should be. Anything that isn't that way should just be called something else. I mean, make it like a spin-off or something. But in the end, I mean, you could call it whatever you want, and as long as it's still a fun game. And I just really don't want. I don't feel like the turn-based should be like they should just get rid of it and not visit it again. Because turn-based games still are very popular, right? I mean, just look at the success of Baldur's Gate, right? Do you feel? But if you look at Baldur's Gate, though, that could be a different thing, right? It could be popular because it's D&D, which D&D we know is super popular, right? I mean, it could be that, right? But I mean, but once you boil it down, though, Baldur's Gate is still, you know, it's a D&D turn-based CRPG, and I really feel like I don't think Square Enix, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, right? So take it with the biggest grain of salt. I don't think they should give up on turn-based. But yeah, overall, Final Fantasy 16, I played it 60 something hours on the PlayStation 5. No issues, no game-breaking bugs, no. Every once in a while, when the screen gets super busy, there'd be some drop in frames, but it wasn't enough where I thought it was terrible. And I was playing it in performance mode, guys. 60 frames, 100%. I mean, that's just, I thought that's the best way to play it. But and it did have some dark themes. It did had some very dark themes. You know, it had slavery. You see, you know, bodies, people getting mangled. It was kind of like politics too, where you know certain territories were betraying and sending in spies and killing people. And so there was some dark element to it that it usually doesn't get the spotlight on like in other Final Fantasy games. But yeah, it was a fun game. Will I play it again? Not anytime soon. Not anytime soon. I know if you wanted to platinum it, you need a second playthrough to get everything. But playing it once was fine with me. It's okay. Immortals of Aveum, that came out, guys. That's the latest one from I believe it was EA, and they were using the Unreal Engine 5. So I saw someone put this on Reddit. It was a link of the Steam users for Immortals of Aveum, and I think as of Saturday, the most peak players they had was 751, no thousands, just the 751. That's how many people they had playing. And I looked at it, I wasn't impressed. It just felt like it's a first-person shooter, but you're using magic. You see the hand just bouncing out, and when they're shooting spells, it like actually had like recoil, which does that happen when you shoot magic? I know it's magic, it's not real, right? But does that happen? Does there like recoil when you shoot like several fireballs out of your hand? Is there actual recoil? I mean, I don't know. I guess I guess that's the closest way you can make it a first person shooter and use guns without actually using guns. I saw some of this game. I know it was coming. I didn't know it was this close to release. I was not impressed. And honestly, I'm not the only one. I think this game didn't do as well. And they were using, I did see Digital Foundry talk about some of the performance on Xbox X, S, and the PlayStation 5. It is a current gen game and Steam, of course. And the requirements were kind of high. The requirements, I don't have the list with me, guys, but looking at it, I know they released it a couple like a week or two before launch. I think it was a week or two before launch, and they were kind of up there. Uh, um, and I don't know if it's because it could be two things. There's two ways I'm thinking about it, right? It could be they're using Unreal Engine 5. I think right now the only games that have been using that is what, Fortnite, because it's from Epic Games. And this one, and I know some other games are currently in development using it. I know Tekken 8, Tekken 8, yeah, Tekken 8 will be using this. I remember Harada tweeting out about using the Unreal Engine 5. But maybe it's because of the Unreal Engine 5, or maybe it's because, and I feel like this has been the story of 2013. Jesus Christ, Rick, where are you at? I think this has been the story of 2023, right? Where games are coming out not optimized for PC, and I want to, and this makes me want to go to the other part of the conversation. Like, it makes me want to segue into, excuse me, guys, the other GPUs. Well, AMD's announced some new GPUs, but we'll talk about that later. And them using FSR, and of course Nvidia having DLSS 3.5 or a DLSS 3 is coming out with their, I don't think it's their 4070 cards. I don't know. We gotta look that up. But they're using DLSR and FSR and all these software, using the software to use AI to generate the new frames. And I know I'm thinking, guys. I'm thinking. I'm trying to put this right. Not right. I'm trying to put this out in a way. I believe this AI generated software to help with the games. I believe it was first used to help where some of the maybe GPUs, graphics cards that didn't have the right power, just to help them get over there, to make to help achieve, to help reach 60 frames, to make it playable where it wouldn't be a stuttering mess. But it almost feels now like these are starting to become selling points, and instead of having just these newer GPUs having raw power. And of course, look, I think the only one that could actually like get away with that, having like just like immense amount of just raw power, would be like the 4090, maybe the 7900 XTX. But I mean, the 4090, with the price of that on that sucker, is still outrageous. I mean, you get the performance. You definitely get the performance. I mean, it really outshines the 3090 Ti by a lot. But the rest of the 40 series cards, I feel like they're okay. They're okay. As for AMD, same thing. I feel like they price them wrong. But anyway, we'll talk about GPUs later. But I feel like something like the games like this, Immortals of Aveum, it's like they're using this fancy stuff. And again, every game, not every game. Sorry, I don't want to say every game. A lot of games that we've seen kind of been falling out of under this category, where if they're not performing right on Steam, on PC, I should say, is they're just not being optimized or what? Because we've seen a lot of it, and it seems like it's going to continue. I wouldn't be surprised if it just becomes a trend for just having, and of course, maybe these games are just getting more expensive, and just having need more requirements. But I don't know. It feels like sometimes maybe consoles is the way to go. Sometimes it feels that way. Sometimes. But then again, I don't know if Avium or Immortals of Avium wasn't anybody. Like, I never heard anybody say, "I'm ready to play this." Didn't EA have Wild Hearts come out earlier this year, which wasn't in a good spot either at launch. Ah, BioWare lays off senior writing staff as part of its recent job cuts. I think you guys have seen it, right? You know, things are more expensive. Games aren't, maybe some games aren't performing as well. Some companies are kind of like either getting folded in or falling under. And then cutting part of the BioWare staff. You know, Mass Effect 1 and 2 and 3, fun games. I enjoyed them very much. The writing was great. It was something that, like, for me, was one of its kind when I got to play. I never played really much of the Dragon Age series. Mass Effect was where it's at. Was where it was at for me. But this makes you think, like, if laying off some of the like senior writers for BioWare, what does this mean for, like, because weren't they talking about having, like, I won't say rebooting the Mass Effect series, but doing another, like, starting again with the Mass Effect series and Dragon Age? Weren't they gonna like make more games with those franchises? I mean, I don't know. It just feels like some of these games are just, these companies are just cutting corners, and I don't know, just not. Yeah, you just hate to see it. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. Speaking of big games, guys, Starfield. Uh, I'm not a I'm not looking forward to Starfield. Apparently, it looks like it might be in a good spot, which surprised out of me. I really thought this game coming out was gonna be kind of like super buggy, super laggy. I don't. Bethesda hasn't had like the greatest track record recent, but I feel like with Starfield, they're making sure they get everything done. I mean, they already said, like, it'll be, the least buggiest game on launch, which on paper doesn't sound the most reassuring, but I guess that's something. You already had Todd Howard come out saying it'll be rocking, at a solid 30 frames per second when it comes on consoles. PC will be a different story. I know they talked about, they'll be, make the game very mod friendly for the modders and stuff like that. So it seems like the game's gonna be in a good spot. But just looking at some stuff for the games for Starfield. Apparently, this game has been in development for a span of like nearly 8 years, where it makes you think, right? It makes you think, like, is this like the norm for the new AAA, even quadruple A studios, where it's taken around 8 years to make? Because uh, Skyrim was a fun game. I enjoyed that one a lot. How much when they make the next Elder Scrolls, the next Oblivion mainline series game? I mean, that I don't. I mean, it's gonna be a good while, right? It's gonna be a good while. I mean, not anytime soon. And they also said they had a budget of almost like $200 million and a team size of around 500 developers, or team size of 500. Sorry, I don't know if it's developers, but you got to get mocap actors and coders and artists and all sorts of folks to make the game. But and it's coming out September 6th. So are you guys excited about Starfield? I know I've talked to some of my friends. I know my wife is super excited. She's gonna get it. She wants to get it. I think she's been burnt. She was burned by Fallout 70. Yes, Fallout 76. She wasn't happy how that game came out. So we'll see. I would not be playing this game on day one. I was kind of hyped. Then I was kind of like, and then I kind of like, okay, I kind of like just settled on it. It's fine. I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait when this game comes out. Maybe if it starts becoming, I don't know. I'm gonna have to see some gameplay as it comes out and how it is on PC and stuff like that, because that's probably where I'm gonna get it. I do have an Xbox Series S, but that poor little thing, like, my wife got it. And I've played a couple of, like, I played Symphony of the Night on it, and that was about it. It's just been sitting there. I mean, I use the controller more than I do with the console itself. So I will be keeping an eye on Starfield, but I'm not hyped for it. It's not a day one purchase for me. You guys let me know what y'all think, please, because I'm curious to see what y'all feel about it. On AMD, so on Gamescom, there wasn't much that I cared about. Um, that that got my attention. But what did get my attention was that AMD did announce two of their GPUs, their graphic cards, guys, which they've back in November they talked about their 7900 XT and their 7900 XTX. That's like, think about it like base mod, like Founders Edition, and then Ti. Think about it that way. The XTX is like the Ti version, a little bit, more oomph in there, right? Those came out in November. They were overpriced. Just straight up, they were overpriced. Little by little, they've been dropping down. Nvidia's been giving out updates and updating the drivers to put them in a finally good spot. I know they were like super power hungry cards, and I think that's my own. I have a couple of issues with AMD cards. I've been using AMD for the last 6 months, and there's some issues with AMD that I still have. And we'll talk about that more. But yeah, they're releasing. They announced their 7700 and their 7700 XT and their 7800 XT, and they pretty much said that this is going to be that's it for the 7000 series for the current gen of GPUs. They say there might be some variations later, like so maybe like a 7600 XTX or something like that, or 7800 XTX, like again the TI version of it. But the 7700, I'm not going to bore you with all the the memory bus and how many cores it has and all that. Like, you can find that information if you're really interested. Okay, I'm not going to give you that information because I don't have it and I don't care for it. The only information I care for when it comes to those cards for GPUs, honestly, is the price and how many gigs of VRAM does it have. Those are two things I'm looking for, right? I mean, I know you could be super nerdy and you want to look into the numbers, into the other numbers, and that's fine. But me personally, I don't care. That's what I'm just looking at those two. And they seem to be 1440 cards targeted at the 1440 resolution mark. And they seem to be at that mid-range spot where I feel like that's where NVIDIA is lacking. And I know some people will say, well, they have the 4060s, which are priced at $299, $299, $399, and $499. And those are like the 4060, 4060 Ti, and 4060 Ti 16 gigs. They have a 4060, 8 gigs. 4060 Ti, also 8 gigs. And a 4060 Ti, 16 gigs. I know, it's confusing AF. It really is. Like, if you don't follow this stuff, it's easy to get confused or buy something. You probably buy something wrong, right? And I feel like at the 4060, 16 gigs, even at $499, I feel like it still should have been like maybe $100 less. And in my opinion, if you were to ask me, I'd say NVIDIA knows they have premium products and they can put their price at whatever they want. And honestly, I know they have other GPUs that are using what the I think it's called like the Hopper graphics cards. Those are mostly meant for like AI. I think that's what NVIDIA is really trying to focusing their goal on, is like AI data centers and stuff like that. And that's where I think that's where they're going to be like try to get most of their money at. Where it sucks, right? You figured they would have been looking out for the gamers, people who want to play the games and been buying their GPUs for X amount of years. I just feel like their prices are just a little bit too much. And look, I'm guilty. I said I wasn't ever going to buy a 40 series. I did pick up a 4070 Founders Edition only because, like, honestly, it was kind of an impulse buy, guys. But the only reason, like, I kind of like said okay was compared to a 3070, it was only $100 more. But it doesn't feel like you get $100 worth of improvement. Like, it's a good card. It's an okay card. It's a good card, but not great. And I think for I think and that's it. Like I wouldn't go any more beyond a 40. Me basically, and that's just like if you want to play at 1440 for a future build that I'm going to be having like somewhere down the line, somewhere down the road. But I feel like the 4070 will probably be okay. Now, if you got the big bucks, you want the rich flex, then I'd say yeah, get the 4090. Other than that, though, I don't know about these other cards. I'm going back to the AMD. I feel like them pricing them at this place is probably a good spot, but it feels like AMD a lot of times, even they did this with their 7600 when it came out. It was supposed to be like, first it was rumored to be 350, 300, and then at like the 2 days before release, I think they priced it like at 280 or 270, around there. I feel like the pricing with AMD is like a little bit off when it first comes out. Then you gotta wait till the prices settle. And even then, between the 7700 and the 7800, there was only a $50 difference. So it feels like the 7700 becomes like, why am I gonna buy this? I'll just spend $50 more. I'll get more VRAM, and then like, it just puts the 7700 in a really rough spot. I think if they would just put it at 399, they could have been more compelling. But I don't know. We'll have to see how it comes out. And again, guys, these are going to be newer GPUs, so they're going to have to, make sure they're going to release drivers to have it up and ready. And I'm gonna tell you right now, guys, when I was playing Armored Core 6, I haven't had any issues with the 6900 XT that I have. The only issues I had was when I first got it. I was playing Resident Evil 4, and I had the cards just maybe a little bit too undervolted, and at some parts, Resident Evil 4 would crash. My fault. I mean, it's just user error. I mean, I probably undervolted it just a bit too much. But I have it at a good spot and a safe spot where it could cover most of the games. But when I was playing Armored Core 6, it'd be some times where the game would start and you hit continue and it's loading up and it would freeze. And you'd get this error message and it would be like AMD Adrenaline software saying, "Oh, would you like to send in a bug report, there's been a crash and whatever like that." And it feels like that's when people say there's some issues with AMD drivers. There is, guys. It does happen. It is a real thing, and it sucks because I think if you just want a good value GPU, AMD has it, and I really do like the Adrenaline software. We could just tinker with things. You want to increase some of the megahertz, or you want to move some of the boost some of the clocks, or maybe undervolt it, or give it more power, or increase the power, or change the fan curve. I do like that feature, but and they also have just very easy, just click settings. You can just put it on, and if you don't want to tinker it, that's fine. It feels like sometimes that might not be like it's cool that they have it, but it's probably not going to be for everyone who plays on PC. I'm pretty sure there's some people who have PC games who are like, oh, just give me a decent GPU that works, and as long as it works, it's fine, and they're never going to ever tinker with that stuff ever, and that's fine. It's your card. You can do whatever you want. Again, I think the Adrenaline software is cool, but it isn't like, oh my god, I gotta have it. It's gonna make a bit much of a difference. Because honestly, when I play it, it's fine. It works. It just every once in a while I get drivers issues, and I'm sure some people say, well, and some people are gonna say, well, I'm sure Nvidia has driver issues too. But you know what? Tell you the truth, guys, I have a 3090 over here where my wife on the PC that my wife used, and when I had it for the whole year, that I had it, I never had any issues with Nvidia drivers, and that's just my experience. So just take it with a grain of salt. I want Nvidia, AMD to do better. I want them to do great. I want them to have more of the market share, just to make more competition out of Intel and their Arc GPUs, and out of Nvidia and their RTX GPUs. The more evenly shared, the more competitive the market share is for the GPUs. I think it'll be better just for us as consumers. But seeing the stuff from Gamescom, I see these cards, and I'm like, okay, I think they're going to be in a good spot for that mid-level, mid-range prices. But we're going to have to see how that actually pans out. Oh yeah, the AMD also talk about they're going to be using fluid motion frames. That's going to be their fluid motion frames. Yeah, that's going to be their DLSS on their 5, 6, and 7,000 series cards. And it's going to be, what I did like about that though, which was interesting, is it'll be available via their drivers. So you don't have to worry about if a certain game developer put DLSS in their game, or they added it on. I know AMD is working really close with Microsoft to develop Starfield. But back when when Resident Evil came out, there's no DLSS on that. I think that would have been a good feature to have. I mean, I'm not saying every game needs it, nor should every game need it. But if for the folks that maybe likes to have everything, have everything on complete max settings, if it helps with the performances, I say why not? It should be in there. Look, honestly, but look, when it comes to frame generation, I wouldn't play on anything that is like very fast paced. If you're doing, multiplayer games, fighting games, or even something like Armored Core or Elden Ring, something that you require really fast reactions, and to be really responsive and snappy, I would probably keep the frame generation off. So just FYI, I think AMD doing it on the driver side is really good. So we'll see how that goes, and hopefully, like again, it's just I think it's a software technology that most developers should at least have the option, but shouldn't be the crutch when it comes to the performance of the performance or the optimization of the video games when it comes out on PC. Um, oh yeah, and then AMD, they also had like a whole bunch of charts when it came out to the numbers and the performances compared to other games and stuff like that. But again, it's like charts from them, so you kind of have to take it like with a grain of salt, because you like, are they cherry picking this information? What are they using? And they're using a bunch of percentages, so you don't actually see the hard numbers. So it just becomes something to like, and that's just not only with AMD, but with anything, right? When you see something like, oh, check out our competitors, and they just show you like percentages, like what are you guys getting this information from, right? You want to know more. What else, guys? Okay, we're already at the 45-minute mark. Can you believe it? Let's talk about Armor Core 6, guys. Let's talk about Armor Core 6. We'll talk about that before we wrap it up. Full disclosure, guys, I heard of Armored Core, never played it before. I know. Talk to my friend I know him and his brother David. They would play it, and they would tell me about it, because I think we would have a discussion about FromSoft and some of their other titles. And I was like, okay, cool, yeah, mechs, awesome, And they would tell me like customized and everything. So I knew Armored Core existed, but I never played it. And honestly, the last time they had a game was like almost 10 years ago on the Xbox 360. So I never played an Armored Core game. I knew they existed. I know they're around. My first exposure to FromSoft was playing Dark Souls 3, which led to wanting to play, Dark Souls 3 multiple times, and then going into Bloodborne, and then playing Sekiro, and then waiting for Elden Ring. So I'm a fan of FromSoft. I like their games. I love the challenge. I love how they're, even though it's still a FromSoft game, they still have their own mechanics, right? When you look at Bloodborne, you having to use your firearm to parry attacks. Even the aesthetics just varies very much compared. Well, okay, yeah, the aesthetics vary. They vary. It could be subtle compared to Dark Souls 3, like especially like some of the architect and the buildings, they might look very similar, but they have their unique style. And same with Sekiro, right? Sekiro, I feel like that has to be like the hardest FromSoft game I ever played, and I like it. Every other year I'll come back to Sekiro and play it, just to remember how much awesome how awesome this game is, especially fighting Owl Father. That is a fight. I mean, that's a challenge. Even the final boss, that's a fight. Because a lot of times, some other games, if you're just playing the game, they'll make the final boss a challenge, but still very beatable. Not in Sekiro. That boss will kill you. That boss will kill you if you're not playing right at all. If you don't respect his move list, he will humble you and you will start all over. And then of course Elden Ring. I mean, it was FromSoft's biggest game. It was one of the biggest releases of 2022. It was the game of the year for 2022. Not only just for me, but for other people too, and even some of the in the video game industry, right? It rightfully got game of the year. So take it what it is. It was a big game. Armored Core 6, guys, right out the gate. I've been playing a game. I've been playing it. I've been having a good time with it. It's been really fun, trying out different builds, trying new weapons, different strategies. It has been a challenge. I really like it a lot. I've been having a really great time with it. I know some people will say, "Oh, well, the story is kind of vague. It doesn't even have a story," and it pretty much follows the suit of FromSoft, where you get some of the story from information you get, from data logs you find along the in the map when you open up some chests or loot around some fallen armored cores that you see on the battlefield, or sometimes they'll have dialogue between, in the comms from other characters in the game. A lot of it is like brief style, like getting a briefing or debriefing after a mission or the beginning of a mission. You don't see any facial acting or anything. There's no mocap like that. You don't get any of that. So it's very up to you to find the information you want. And I think that's fine. I think that's great. I don't feel like every game needs to have all this super fancy mocap and have the high production polish like some other companies have to have. I'm glad that this game doesn't have to do that. It doesn't follow that formula, and I'm glad they don't. This is its own thing, and it really is. I also feel, in my humble opinion, guys, honestly, if you're the mindset of, and I'm not here to change your mind, right? I want to tell you how I feel about the game. If you're in the mindset of, oh, it's mechs, it's not for me. Especially if you enjoyed Elden Ring, I really feel, or if you've enjoyed any FromSoft game, actually, I really feel like you should give this game a shot. It really is. It's really great. It's really good. I was stuck for the longest, for hours, guys, hours, stuck on the boss for chapter 1. When I finally got him down, when I finally defeated him, that that man, that relief that you got, like, man, you finally got it. That excitement, that, oh my god, or so many times where you just get close, where you get that much, or when you start progressing, because at first you're like, I'm not doing any damage to him, I'm not going to defeat him, and you start learning and try different strategies and try different builds, and you got to move and you got to play super tight. Your hands are getting freaking sweaty. You got to wipe them off on the side of your pants or grab your freaking, your little hand rag on the side and just dry your hands off. And you're holding the controller super tight and you're having to play and just execute, learning all the patterns. Like, there's nothing that compares to that, guys. I like the fact that it doesn't hold your hand. I'm glad that it beats you up and grinds you into a pulp and spits you out. Because when you overcome the boss, it's one of the best feelings when it comes to video games. It's one of the best feelings you get in a video game. Because it doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't tell you where to go. It doesn't tell you what strats to use. It doesn't tell you what mechs you have to use. It might suggest some things like, and it's like some subtle things where, like, before the chapter 1 boss, you fight a mini boss and who's using this new gun, and it kind of shows you how fast it can, like, melt down some shields and do some damage. It might show you something like that. Here's a new weapon right before the boss. Maybe you should try it out. It'll give you like subtle hints like that. But having to do everything on your own and learn and execute, and it's frustrating. I know some people want to quit because it doesn't hand you a game. It doesn't hand you the win. It doesn't make it easy for you. It doesn't do none of that. It makes you earn it. It makes you respect it. And I think that's something that a lot of games are being lost. And when FromSoft, not only with this game, but they do it with majority of the games where you have to learn how to do it right. And of course, like an Elden Ring, you could get some, like, you can get some assists where you call in your friends or summon some ashes, or use really good weapon arts, and that's all a part of the game, and enjoy it if you get through with it. But at the end, you still have to learn what the boss is doing, and you have to respect it and know what you're doing. Armored Core 6 does that and just cranks it to 11. You have to know, because there is no assist. You're not calling in your friends. It's all going to be all you, and that's it. Just you. You got to learn when to move, when to dodge, when to conserve your thrusters. Excuse me, guys. You when to conserve your thrusters and when to attack, when to go when to, once you break their armor, when to like fully charge in so you can't be too far away if you want to use your melee weapons. I really feel like you should try this game out. You shouldn't just write it off. Oh, it's just a mech game. I don't care about mechs. Get past that. Get past that. Remember what made you enjoy a FromSoft game. Because this game is going to give you that. It's going to give you that, but you're going to have to earn it. It's going to be tough. I already had 25 hours into the game. What else? Oh, shit. What was that? Oh, yeah. Front page. And I think this is FromSoft's second most popular game at launch. It had 150,000 concurrent Steam players on day 1. I don't know how many it had on PS5 or on Xbox. I'm not privy to the information, but it's a really fun game. I would highly recommend it, guys. And also when it comes to the missions, they're not too long. They come in these nice bite-sized chunks. Every once in a while, you get like a lengthy mission. But it's pretty. The FromSoft is pretty generous when it comes to the checkpoints. That way, if you do die, you are able to, go from the checkpoint and just take up from there. Or if you lose to a boss, do have the option to reassemble your mech to try different loadouts, different things, and it does have these awesome features where, if you like a build, you can save it, and that way, when you want that build again, you can just upload it. You get several slots to several slots to save different loadouts. Also, if you buy something and it doesn't work out, you can sell it back to the shop and they give you the full price that you bought it for. So you're never really struggling for currency. Maybe at first, while you're still kind of like just playing the game, and then you finally hit a wall and you're like, okay, I'm going to try different weapons. You'll sell this, but then you realize, oh, well, this core actually costs a lot more. But the game does allow you to go back and replay some missions. And again, some of them are short, and some of them, I mean, some of them are really short. Like you go in there, destroy a pilot mech, and then the mission's done. Or there could be some lengthier missions, and they're out there, they exist. But it's worth it, guys. I will highly suggest it. And then chapter two was short, but it was another boss that I was just stuck for, not as much as the first boss, but I was still stuck on a good while. And I actually, when I was stuck on a boss, I actually looked at different builds. Like, okay, there's something I'm missing here. There's something I'm missing here, right? Whether it's the loadout or the skills or whatever, there's something I'm missing. So let me just go look online and see what other people are doing. And I saw like three to five different videos on how to defeat it, and they each had different ways of doing it. So that just told me any way you go with it, it's viable. It just might be more difficult than others, and you just got to make up for it with with the ability to dodge and be smart with your repair kits. So don't feel like you have to play a certain way. I mean, sometimes you get to a boss, okay, you might have to change some things up. And it happened to me, right? I came across this one boss where the build that I'm using is a very lightweight, speedy build. It just doesn't have enough armor to take a hit. So I'd had to change it up to get maybe, sacrifice some speed and agility for more heft, for more armor. And yeah, you do feel it, but it doesn't make it unplayable. And honestly, that's another good thing about the game too, where you can have one build and it'll probably carry you, for a part of the game. But trying out other ways of doing it, of approaching it, not only just approaching it, right, but just having different builds and different strategies is really refreshing, because you can't just have the same thing and expect to get the same results. The game encourages you to want to try different things, and it's really fun. Whether you have missiles that launch vertical, or missiles that launch horizontal, or grenade launchers, or a plasma melee weapon, or I mean, it's just so many combinations and styles, and you could color it. I did try some of the PvP. The PvP, guys, wasn't that bad. And I'm not a big fan when it comes to Souls games PvP, but this one, it was actually fun. It's just, it's like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, I don't know, like 1v1, 3v3, and you just go and kill and fight, and you see different mechs, different styles, different strategies, and some things that work in PvE don't work in PvP, and that's fine. But overall, guys, I've been just having a really good time with this game. And I'm gonna like give it to freaking FromSoft, dude. It was just a $59.99 game. Now you can get like the special deluxe version. You get like a soundtrack and maybe some like an art book or something. But honestly, that's not worth it to me. But the game's $59.99. There is no freemium passes, no premium passes, no battle passes, no microtransactions, no cosmetics, no loot boxes, none of that. It's just the game. Go play it. And I'm glad FromSoft is doing that. I kind of I had going into Armored Core 6, I told myself I'm gonna pick this up in game one. I'm gonna play it day one. I'm gonna pick it up. I'm gonna play it, and I didn't have any second thoughts, any doubts about it. I felt the track record that FromSoft is on has been on, I felt like, you know, they're gonna have a solid game, and it's been functioning great. And I've been playing on PC, guys, 120 frames. It's been if there's something that's kind of like they could probably work on, okay, it probably maybe the load times. The load times kind of like, man, it's not horrendous. It's not horrendous at all. But you know, it's like, oh, I'm actually just sitting here waiting for this game to load up. I mean, and as for the nitpick, I mean, if there's anything to nitpick on it, it would maybe be I don't know, guys. I mean, I would have to play more of the game, but honestly, I've been having a really good experience with it. If people ask me about, if people ask for my recommendation, I would say yes. I would say yes, guys. Do not sleep on this game. It is what a game should be. It holds no hands. It's unforgiving. It's a challenge. You win or you lose. It's a game. It's great. It's none of the cinematics. It's just you get briefings here and there, and it's fine. And also, people kind of gave it a knock for that, and that's fine if you want to give it a knock on that. But you know what? I think the game is at a good spot. It really is. And I think because of that, because of the challenge, because of the high skill ceiling that it has, I think it's going to turn some people off. But it shouldn't. It shouldn't. If you enjoyed anything previous from Fromsoft, you really should give this game a shot. Really a chance. Anyways, guys, I think that's it. I'm gonna go play some more Armored Core 6, guys. Put in some more hours. Have a good time. Good time. Have a good time. Good day. Take care of yourselves. Play some video games, guys. What else we got looking forward to? Oh, and Blasphemous 2. I'm looking forward to Blasphemous 2, but I'm putting that one off till September when it comes out on the Nintendo Switch. So I still got a while. So I don't I could take my time with Armored Core. Hopefully it'll be done by then, but we'll see. I'm just gonna take my time and enjoy it. Anyways, guys, play some games. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. This was episode 67, guys. Go make sure you go play some games. Have a good time. Take care of yourselves. If you are working in this heat, guys, take extra precaution. Be super careful. Drink lots of water. Have a good time. Have a good day. Be safe. And I will see y'all next time. Bye, guys. Thank you.